Hey guys, welcome back to News for the Sonic, where we discuss comics, movies, games, and more. And today, I want to have a little conversation with you all. I have an article here pulled up, and it's about the Avengers Endgame directors, the Russo brothers, talking about the Marvel fatigue, which honestly I think just doesn't exist, and it's just not a real thing in my opinion. And I'll get into those details in just a sec. But first, I'm going to go ahead and read about their take about the Marvel fatigue and just the fatigue in general, which I believe to be total bullshit. So excuse my language. I know it's a lack of a better word, but it is. The Marvel fatigue, superhero fatigue is total bullshit, and I really want to talk about this. So before I get started, be sure you're following me on my social media. Links in the description. And join my Discord. Invitation link to that is in the description box below, with all the goodies and also with all the actual tech that I use to record my stuff. That's also in the description box below in case you're interested. So without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at this article. Now, this is from Superhero Hype, and it talks about how the Avengers Endgame Russo brothers directors talked about how the Marvel fatigue is something that people are experiencing, and it's a generational thing. So I kind of found it really interesting, and I really want to address this. And the Avengers Endgame directors, Joe and Anthony Russo, say generational divide is largely the cause of Marvel's recent box office returns, which I actually disagree with, because I think it's just bad writing, and you can apply that to any genre of movies, whether it be action, adventure, horror, mystery, whatever, superheroes in this case. It's just bad writing. And it's been proven that with badly written, poorly written movies, you get poor box office returns. Let's continue. Speaking with Games Radar, and the Russo brothers discuss why audiences' changing tastes are behind some of Marvel's recent flops rather than superhero fatigue or any other factor. And I think it's a reflection of the current state of everything, Joe Russo said. It's difficult right now. It's an interesting time. I think we're in a transitional period, and people don't know quite yet how they're going to receive stories moving forward or what kinds of stories they're going to want. He continued, there's a big generational divide about how you consume media. There's a generation that's used to appointment viewing and going to the theater on a certain date to see something, but it's aging out. And I can only agree to that to a certain extent. Yes, people are now in like this setting, like this mindset where they want instant gratification. And that's exactly what we're getting. Gone are the days where we're like longing to see a film, or longing to go to an event and do something. Rather, we are actually getting these things instantaneously, and it kind of kills the anticipation, the waiting, and everything like that. Because honestly, waiting to see something that you've been wanting to see, like the anticipation, having that anticipation, that feeling of wanting to see something, but knowing it's in a distant future or it's coming out very shortly, it's just killed by the fact that it's available to us immediately, right away. And I think we've been given way too much. And I think we take everything that we have for granted nowadays, especially when it comes to like social media, streaming, and everything like that. Everything's just given to us, thrown at our faces right away. And with the click of a button, we can get whatever we want. And it's incredible. Meanwhile, the new generation are, I want it now, which is exactly what I was talking about. I want to process it now, then moving on to the next thing, which they process whilst doing two other things at the same time. That's right. You're multitasking. You're doing other things. You're on your phone, browsing the web, and you're watching what you want to watch, and you're doing this and that. It's just crazy. It's a very different moment in time than it's ever been. And so I think everyone, including Marvel, is experiencing the same thing, this transition. And I think that really is probably what's more at play more than anything else. So what did the Russo brothers say about superhero fatigue, which is something I guess, which is really something I really don't believe in. I don't think superhero fatigue is an actual thing. Like I said before at the beginning of the video, I think it's just poor writing. Like with all the poor writing, people are going to tune out. They're not going to be interested. So the superhero fatigue question was around long before the work we were doing, Anthony Russo said. So it's sort of an internal complaint, like we always used to cite this back in our early days with superhero work. People used to complain about Westerns in the same way, but they lasted for decades and decades and decades. They were continually reinvented, brought to new heights as they went on. And you can say the same thing about everything else in a way. But again, like I said at the beginning of the video, superhero fatigue is not really a real thing. And I'll tell you why. Recently, and you don't have to argue this, but Marvel's Studios' recent releases, whether it be like Disney Plus streaming shows or movies, have been flops. They've been failing. They have had poor box office returns. And why is that? Let me give you a couple of examples. The Marvels. Poor box office returns. Didn't make enough. Didn't even break even. It had to make like about 800 to 900 million for it to break even. And I think it returned anywhere from like 230 to 300 million. That's all it did. It completely flopped. I even saw that movie on Disney Plus, and I regret wasting about an hour and 50 minutes of my time watching that movie because it was a whole nothing burger. Nothing about that film impacted the rest of the Marvel universe. It didn't forward anything. The only person in that movie that had that looked like to appear to have a really good time was the actress that plays Miss Marvel. And that's it. Everybody else is just kind of like a little stale, a little wooden, I guess you can say, kind of zoned out, not feeling it. They look like they kind of phoned it in a way. And they just don't look like they really care to be there in the first place. So when you have a lot of things like poor writing, actors not really caring about what they're doing as far as the project, it doesn't give us the incentive to want to watch these, like to watch these movies. Look at the recent X-Men 97 series. That's a Marvel Studios project, and it's right now scored at 100%, I think, on Rotten Tomatoes. Last I checked, I saw a headline saying it has 100% right now. And it deserves it because the writing is good. It's a superhero-based show in the year 2024. And people are touting this superhero fatigue to be an actual thing when really it isn't. It all comes down to just poor writing, like I said before. With poor writing, anything, any genre, people are going to tune out. They're going to tune out for that specific content. So let's say a new horror movie comes out. A lot of horror movies are kind of crap these days, honestly. I'm not really interested in horror movies these days anymore because they're just not that great, in my opinion. It's not the fact that it's a horror movie. It's because the writing just hasn't really been really strong. People confuse with poor writing and superhero fatigue. Like they think it's the same thing. They think superhero fatigue is an actual thing when really it's just poor writing. So when you have really good writers, passionate writers, and that care about a project like X-Men 97, they're going to tune in no matter what genre it is that they're watching. So all it is when it comes down to is just good writing, no political bullshit, no political ideology crap, no DEI, none of that stuff. Just good writing. And I guarantee you, people will tune in. And that's what exactly Marvel Studios needs. And I'm glad that Marvel Studios is reevaluating their projects. They're delaying a lot of their projects because they were releasing a bunch of like crap. They were so much focused on quantity rather than quality. And now that they're reevaluating everything to the point where we're only getting one Marvel Studios movie this year, which is Deadpool and Wolverine, we're going to go ahead and listen. We're going to go ahead and tune in because of the fact that they're taking the time to slow down a little bit. Like, we're going to get fatigue in general. You give anybody too much of anything, they're going to get tired of it. You know, you give somebody too much food, they're going to get full and they're going to get tired of it. You tell somebody to, I guess, sleep all day, they're going to be tired of doing that. Imagine being tired of sleeping all day. Fatigue is an actual thing. It's only a thing when somebody experiences too much of that. There you have it. It all comes down to poor writing. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click on the bell notification so you all don't miss anything. And as always, I will see you all in the next comic panel.